Welcome back. We're about to start the second session, and the title of the session is Unlocking the Potential of Energy Storage, Innovations, Market Trends, Revenue Models, and Integration with Renewables. Soon we'll be joined by valuable speakers and we'll dwell into the subject further. Before kickstarting the session, the chair will have a keynote speech, but as TÜREP has some publications that would like to announce you. I mean, you can already find them in our booth. We want to introduce those publications to you because they are the outcomes of great exerted efforts. Like I said, you can find those books in our booth. Like one of the books is about wind energy industry. There was a 2023 inventory study, service repair workshop report is another important publication. And again, this is also available in our booth. Rare soil elements and their strategic significance is the name of another publication. Sources, areas of use, and the future projections. Again, another thread publication. And wind energy statistics report. That's also quite important. One of our publications. So please do visit our booth and try to find these books. Our moderators and distinguished speakers will also contribute to our efforts, and we hope that they'll continue to announce our publications, books. Soon, I'll invite both moderators and speakers, but TÜREP board chair will have a keynote speech, so I invite him to the stage. Then we'll start the session. Hello, distinguished guests. Welcome to the afternoon session of TÜREK. I believe that this is going to be quite an attention-grabbing session because we'll dwell into the possibilities in energy storage. In this session, we'll be joined by great and expert names of the industry. We'll discuss energy storage technologies, the market conditions, and we'll also discuss what might the future bring to us and the renewable energy grid integration. And its strengths will also be discussed throughout the session. For the future of the renewable energy, storage plays an important role, and renewable sources like the solar and wind shall be integrated to the grid because that's also crucial for the future of this industry. And of course, storage solutions has become even more important to make it a reality, especially in the last 2 years. Sector investors and global investors were allocated storage capacities, and energy storage integration, but also the overall grid integration is a very important part of it. I don't want to steal the allocated time of the speakers because I'm more than eager to hear what they have to say. We will follow the development of energy storage solutions, their market integration, and the competition in energy storage alternatives are some of the areas that we will be following from our speakers. And like I said, I am already very excited. I wish you a great session. The moderator is Uğur Işık, and I wish him a successful session. Mr. İbrahim Erdem, TÜREP Board Chair, thank you so much for your keynote speech. And now it's time to start this session. Now I invite the moderator of the session, Uğur Işık, Vice President of Investors. And the speakers are Osman Şahin Köşker, the General Manager of Pomega Energy Storage Technologies, Dr. Alper Baykut, the CEO of RIP Battery, co-founder and managing director of Pure Energy, Anduvap Servet Akgün, and the director of Shura, Alkın Bağgüllü. Many thanks to the moderator in advance, and now I leave the mic to Uğur Işık. Thank you. I guess you can all follow me well. Dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the 13th TÜREK Congress. In the last 2 years, one of the hot topics has been storage. We've been holding events since 2011, and the related we always said to public bodies that if you want to increase the capacity of the renewable energy, then the very first and the very indispensable attribute that investors need is predictability. Of course, this applies to both investors and industrials. I mean, we need predictability, sustainability, and proper capacity supply. We've always discussed in TÜREK that in Turkey there is not enough capacities supply for renewable energy. And when it comes to storage, with this new emerging concept, the course changed actually. We have a licensed project that totals to more than 3,900 megawatts. The 55 of the overall capacity was allocated to storage, meaning realizing such projects is crucial for the entire industry, for all of us. Today we're joined by Alkın Bağgüllü from Shura. When it comes to energy systems, what do you think the greatest advantages are, especially for the grid? And can you tell us more about your latest battery report? Thank you. Greetings to all of you. Shura has a goal in Turkey to help and contribute to the decarbonization process and target of Turkey, and that is why we come up with various reports. Allow me to offer you a macroeconomic perspective and tell you about the study that we carried out. Battery storage solutions are crucial, especially when we're going through an era of climate crisis, and when there are such ambitious targets to decrease the CO2 emissions, especially in the fossil fuel burning sectors. So that is why, yes, storage is getting more and more important, and the renewable energy capacity is ever increasing, and especially the emphasis is on solar and wind on a global level. We all know about it. On one side, it's about sustainability. It's quite important for sustainability, but thanks to emerging technologies, prices and costs are getting lower and lower, and even that is why wind and solar is becoming more popular. In last year's COP, 138 countries committed to triple their already existing renewable capacity, and we know that there will be many more countries to come up with similar solutions and commitments. When it comes to Turkey, of course, we have a goal to decrease our dependency to external sources, and we always wanted to make the most out of our national means. So that is why renewable energy receives a great deal of support for latest years. But Now it is again in the agenda with the 2035 vision, and we also heard the announcement of a national energy plan, and the emphasis on renewables is huge, and there were already ambitious goals for the renewables. By 2035, there is a goal. There is a goal of 83 gigawatts of solar and wind, and thanks to the minister's announcement made in the October, this goal is increased by 50%, meaning we have 30 megawatts of installed capacity, but by 2035 the goal is to quadruple it. And at this point, of course, we have to think about grids as well. In order to renewable energy plants to be integrated to the grid, you can make use of different options, but battery storage is one of the leading technologies. Together with all that, thinking of the national energy plan, by 2035 there is 7.5 gigawatts of commitment, and it's way higher than the existing capacity. And looking at the global picture, we see that there's been a rapid development. By 2023, there's been 85 to 90 gigawatts of installed capacity is present in terms of energy storage capability. Half of it, 42 gigawatt, was realized and installed in 2023, and this equals to a $40 billion of market, and 90% of it is in China, in the EU, and in the States. Well, with the lowering of the costs, we see that investments are accelerating. Investors are interested in equipment manufacturers, and I'm sure speakers will talk about the challenges, but I want to focus on the service side, because you can use this technology for many different services. Like when it comes to electricity operation, there are 3 challenges. One is the fact that the grid frequency and how to control this. I mean, when the share of renewable energy increases, the conventional plant shares drop, and previous the conventional plants were covered by the inertia, and we don't know how the renewables will cover it. And the leading technology is battery storage plants. Again, with the increase of renewable plants, especially with solar, during the low consumption daytime, we know that the generation is high, and on the contrary, when consumption is high, generation is lower. So peak and off-peak differences and how to make up for it requires technology, and again, battery storage solutions are one of the leading possibilities. Renewable energy plants are on the rise, but this requires some serious grid investment, almost as equal as the investment needed for the plants itself. If the battery storage solutions can be positioned in the best way possible for the grid's integration, then it will also allow us to optimize grid investments, and it will help us improve further, meaning in terms of system operators, they can be used for different systems, for auxiliary services, frequency control, black start, or investment delays, limitation management, etc. They can be used for different grid needs. And then for the investors' side, renewable energy plants and their integration to the system. If we want to accelerate it, again, we can make you benefit from this technology. Balancing load, overcoming imbalances, and cost management and price arbitrage is also another possibility to benefit from the technology, meaning you can use battery storage technology for various needs. Now, let me return to what we have done. We published a report in August, and we focused on Turkey's battery energy storage solutions and the current picture. What we tried to do was to have a projection. I mean, there already is a projection, but we focused on 2035 and came up with our own net zero scenario, the Shura net zero scenario. And there was a match with the National Energy Plan. Our projection was that by 2035, we'd have a 57 gigawatts of solar and 39 gigawatts of wind, and plus 5.5 electrolyzer capacity and 2.7 gigawatts of battery capacity will be available. And then we thought how batteries should be positioned in parallel to those grids. And then we studied for which services they shall be used, which sort of technologies would be required. And we didn't dive into further detail, but we had a cost-benefit analysis as well. And finally, as you know, in Turkey, battery storage solutions in Turkey would require some further steps, and we tried to identify some further steps to make the best use of those technologies, and that would require some policy steps. I don't want to go into further details, but if you are interested, you can visit Shura's website to have access to the report. I just want to share three outcomes with you. We need a clear roadmap. But here, in order to fully benefit from the technology, first we have to identify the best fitting technology solutions and systematic locations. So we need a roadmap before everything else, because battery systems shall be optimally positioned, because otherwise there would be some grid losses. And 400 kilowatts of line loads can be reduced with the correctly selected positions. And if you fail to do so, you might see unexpected cost rises. Again, according to our calculations, in 2035, you will see 7.2 and 28 kilowatts per hour battery means available. And if you were to run them very optimally, then you will have 7 terawatts per hour of power cuts can be eliminated. And by 35, this could reduce up to 12 terawatts of natural gas use. And it can also save us from more than $700 million of import. And this also means a great saving. Energy, the battery storage capabilities will help us reduce the dependency, and soon I think we can become more and more self-sufficient. So at this point, let me end my answer here and give the mic over. Maybe if we can have a second round, then I might discuss some policy recommendations. Battery energy storage, I mean, this can help us overcome the power cuts. I mean, we had to start the session 10 minutes late because we had a power cut. If only we had a great battery storage system, or at least generator in place, right? So that's crucial. Okay, now let's continue with Dr. Albert. In order to have a battery ecosystem in Turkey, what do we really need? And can we really establish a competitive setting? Well, it's a hard question, but let me be brief with it. Before moving on with the experience, let me touch upon the fact that there are so many different perspectives, but as an establishment of EO, I mean, let me tell you, it's an integrator and an engineering company, meaning they can get different products and integrate them together, and that's the actually capacity that we have. And second of all, we have started to invest in our own plants. Now we have another hat to wear. Now we want to operate those plants, and we can start from cells, modules, packs, energy storage, meaning we also want to become a producer that can produce all of those components. That's why we have a factory. I was a CEO at Yo, and now I have full responsibility here. And also, yes, we need an ecosystem in Turkey. Nobody can take care of everything on their own. So that is why we need an ecosystem. And in order to establish one, first you have to identify needs, and you might need tiny investments, which we have already made. And let me skip to energy storage. So there is a great slide actually. Can you show me the presentation? Battery storage is like an iceberg. I don't have a pointer here, but okay, yeah, this one. Can you show it? Now, battery storage is like an iceberg. What you see as a product starts as a cell. You integrate cells somehow. And by the way, there is this chemistry. There is a specific recipe, a lot to be done. You would need electronics. And even itself screams ecosystem, chemistry, electronics, this and that. You cannot do everything on your own. And when it comes to chemistry, have we missed a train? No, I mean, it's not late to keep up with the latest technologies. If you want to abandon lithium, then go for sodium. And you can have researchers for other alternative materials. I believe that Turkey has the capacity to do so, and we can be competitive. When you think of lithium, it has matured, no, but then they introduce a 500 ampere per hour cell, and then they say 10C cells are introduced, launched in the market, etc. And then we all go back to the beginning. I mean, yes, we haven't had that many chemistry-focused resources, but what is left? The only thing left is BMS, meaning battery management system. Well, then how to have that management system? Well, that could be easier, but again, you need to find some added value. Get those cells, pack them, bring them to bigger sizes, meaning pack it for residential use from 5 kilowatt per hour, or fit 5 megawatts to a container. You can come up with different designs, and designing such things are not like pick it up from somewhere and put it to somewhere else. You need some serious engineering to do so, because there is this incredible thermal management and mechanical depreciation management, and you have to manage the chemistry. So you have to do everything at the same time. So you're designing a package here. And in automotive, I know, I come from an industry that prepared batteries for automotive, and the standards are so different, and soon it's going to be even more different, and this differentiation needs to be quite clear. And in order to make it happen in Turkey, you would need different ecosystems and you would need cooperation.
So if you install a container, we are thinking about the focus on the integration, grid integration. If it is based on grids, first of all, we have to consider the licenses. Why do we need it? We need to facilitate renewable energy without any interruption. We have to think about gas, and we have to think about RES. It is very predictable to think about gas. It is all depending the solar energy. You can pre-estimate the tendencies. Of course, you have some deeper studies, but regarding the wind, if you have a wind, uninterrupted wind, how much you can store? You didn't have the chance to empty. If you had the chance to empty the storage, what do you do next? Feasibility is really very important. There are some challenges when you're making the feasibility. While I'm in both parts of this deal. I'm a producer as well as the consumer. We have to put this balance into this profit. but we are not marching yet. Of course, we are investing, we are purchasing the licenses, but in Turkey, no one is doing that. No one is doing that. It's not any different in the world. So this is the tip of the iceberg. This is the battery storage system as a product. And we have MaaS, Mobility as a Service. What we refer to, I don't know if I nominated them, but there is a value added system as battery as a service. You can benefit from the ecosystem of Turkey. First of all, certification process. Let's consider product. This product is nothing simple. Lithium is chemically dangerous product. We're talking about 10 megawatts hour, and you have to push. What do I mean by push? You have to use it, utilize it to the maximum level, and you will have to conduct this maximum energy. That's what they are demanding. Maybe we can touch on this topic later on. In order to facilitate this, your product has to comply with some standards of security and standards. In Turkey, we couldn't find any institute to grant this certification. This level of service exceeds any expectation, exceeds any estimation per container. If you try to get a certificate, you talk about $1 million each and every change that you do. It's in the same in the automobile industry. For 2 decades, you have to continue producing the same product. Energy storage. Chemistry is always changing. The cells will be renewed. It will be staying the same size, but it will be storing different type of energy. That means a change in the certificate. It has to change. In order for the product to function in the field, you have to change the certificate to facilitate the security. In Turkey, the institutions to grant certificate, we lack those institutions. It doesn't have to be a private institution. It is a huge investment, and it has to be impartial. Impartiality is a necessity. We are in dire need for this. We can contribute to ecosystem. From Europe, if you request a certificate, you save a date in the next 4 months, and you spend a lot. And duration is really important. You purchase something, of course, the wind, it will be worn out. In the battery, it can be exaggerated depending on each and every cell you put in the storage from A company, B company. When you package the engineering systems, the temperature, everything, there is a lot of detail about the life cycle and life expectancy. What do we expect? I am the investor. I expect the same performance for the next 2 decades. It's not easy. It's not difficult. You pay the price and you purchase the service, but you need some analysis of the finances, and you need to do some feasibility. We have this battery passport. What does that mean? It means from the moment that it is generated till the next step, installment of the services, and till the next steps, you have to keep the record of each and every data, and the first producer should keep the record of this data. For the part of the energy producer, it has to be that. It's our estimation. It is normal that they will be depreciated, but we will be allocating them to residential use. It's a dream. Yet it's not easy to accomplish. You have to know the specifications of the batteries that you purchase, for example. Circling back to the automobile products. Let's not charge the batteries. We can change the batteries. Why cannot we do that? Maybe if you do not know the industry, it is due to SOH. Due to the health conditions of the battery, the battery that you give, the battery that you take is not the same. If you continue 200 kilometers, maybe with the new battery you will be going only 100 kilometers. It's the same with energy storage systems. This battery will be depreciated, the capacity will be diminishing, so I have to make this double. I have to double this investment, I say. I double this investment. The investment doesn't want it. It's normal that they don't want it. If it diminishes, you can add on. How do you do that? You have to exert a little bit more effort. So in the tiny ones, you cannot do that. Maybe you put another container within. In which part? Where do you tie it? There are some millions of questions. And after 2 decades, maybe you will have a second-hand container in your hands. So you have this some rare and weird usage. You don't know the values. And last but not the least, the investment. How do you finance the investment? On one part, there is this credit and loans. On the other hand, I have to make money out of it. I have to sell the electricity in Turkey. The electricity that I sell out of storage, maybe we have to leave it to the free market. It is not possible to predict. But on B side of the event, we have to get a stable number so that I can do some estimations and I can I can profit within the first 7 years. Well, in the presentation, I would like to touch on our small ecosystem. It is one of the main points of the supply chain. It also highlights the importance of the partnerships that you have to establish. You have to generate the cells, you have to guarantee the cell production. In a detail, it goes into the mining. There's a crisis, chip crisis, lithium crisis. In order to prevent this, you have to dominate each and every step of your supply chain. Software also plays a crucial role. How to use it. Energy management software is really important. Depending on the conditions, commercial conditions, uh, selling electricity, charging and decharging, maybe it doesn't even cover the losses. You have to make this estimation. You will have to involve this AI factor in it. Also, the cybersecurity and automation is also really important. We have seen you can explode this mobile phone or not. Can you stop the car or not? If the electronic is included, it is really possible to do this. So you have to do it. You have to read this temperature. You have to gauge it with the EMC wave. With this grayscale system, it is really something else to B2B. It's different. B2C, it is different. So you have to find partners for the integration. When you uh, delve deeper into the cell studies, we have some R&D studies in Turkey. They are making some R&D investigations in sodium cathode and membrane. But scale economy is important. Scale economy is important. In a small scale, you cannot establish something profitable. So you have to get the efforts and support of all the companies in Turkey. You have to use the products that they are producing. Thank you so much to Mr. Alper. You mentioning all the added values we can establish in Turkey. You mentioned software. In TRIP, we have this storage capacity, storage software capacity and experience in the system integration, in the system allocation, and also commissioning it in the storage. We have seen that there is a rise in the prices. Experience is important. But it was a very challenging experience for us. It was a tough time for us. We purchased container, we integrated it with the grids, but it's not that easy. We face some difficulties. Of course, we will be facing the difficulties, but we will be overcoming these difficulties, aligning the grid. with the storage capacities. We have to invest in the storage capacities. In this regard, I will be getting back to you, Mr. Osman. Mustafa Varank, chair of the Energy Commission, asked this question. This capacity, do we need all of them? Do we really need 33 gigawatts per hour? 7.8, did you say? Yes, maybe we can raise higher. TEIH has also another take on this issue. Mr. Morang has this suggestion. The investor has this responsibility to establish the storage systems in every storage system, every storage plant, wherever TEIH needs. It has to maybe pay for the capacity that they are using, and TEIH can also help develop this capacity, develop this plant in line with the needs. So maybe they can do this study accordingly. That was the question. So I redirect these questions, redivert these questions. What is your take on this issue? How can we respond to this question? Thank you so much. First of all, thank you. Of course, I'm not impartial on this issue. Is this enough? Is this little? Of course, we have to establish quadruple times of this systems, these plants. Well, let's talk about the leagues. We established the leagues, and there are rules of the leagues. Everyone established their teams, and they have their fixtures defined. You know these matches. Apart from here, can you change the rules? I don't know. I'm not sure about that, but there will be losses and gains about this. In the end of the day, TIAS or any other system operators, if they are instructed to do that, of course they will be needing batteries, that's for sure. At the end of the day, rather than the private sectors, you will be expecting from the public institutions. The thing that we have to mention here is, of course, battery is a must, is an obligation within the system, but for the investors, it doesn't have to be an obligation. This is a free market. It is like a turbine. It is a system. Battery is just another system, just another product. Of course, you can make money out of it. You can make profit. You can see the examples all around the world. Something we have just started in Turkey, that's for sure, but there are some regulations and procedures. They are not established, but we continue working towards the establishment of the regulations. 2 weeks ago, as you know, they published the criteria, acceptance criteria. We have given our opinions. They consulted us. They consulted each and every player of the sectors. This is a continuous process. It is not stopping. It will continue, but there is a market, and there will be a market. Can it be an income model? Can we make use of this as an income model? And maybe we can make this investment. Maybe they can establish as an investment package. All around the world, we see the examples. For example, I'll be talking about Romania. It is considered as a neighbor country. In Romania, they have a huge storage potential on a daily basis. 400 euros, 500 euros, megawatts per hour is the price that we in the arbitrage and the balancing market. In the balancing markets, of course, PFK, SPK is also participating. It is regarding the markets. It is regarding the market, of course. They can gain a ton of investment. Maybe I believe that we can establish this in Turkey. We have to regulate the market. We have to establish the rules of the market, and we have to guide the investors and the financement accordingly. The licenses, distributed licenses, are clear. I don't know if they'll continue accomplishing these. I'm not sure. We talk about solar energy. And some parts are some separate storage areas. In the end of the day, of course, there will be a market, and that's the path that we have to take. We entered the commercial part. Mr. Osman mentioned that it investment shouldn't be an obligation. It is an obligation. It is a responsibility. All of the investors in Turkey, uh, in order to get the capacity, they have to undertake the responsibility of storage. While they are taking the storage, they didn't foresee the buy services and arbitrage services and the expenses. They didn't regard this. It was an additional cost. It is an additional cost for them, and they don't see an operational income out of it. That's the most important part. Maybe we have to clear this out. Yes, it's correct. In the past, if it would be nicer if we didn't have the ministry. So we cannot say that storage is the capacity that we are working. Operator of these grids, Teyash, tells us that you have to store this. With the storage, you can solve this system problem. Then you can open the capacity. Of course, you have to find the capacity. There are some topics that we are discussing. In the beginning, in the initial part, storage. Storage has a bright future because it's an industry that has just begun. As Alcom mentions, apart from China and the United States, the world is also a little bit fall behind, but it's not a dream. It is not a dream to comply with 120 gigawatts. We will be seeing all these wind turbines everywhere. We will be seeing it all over the place. So I don't see the possibility to make an investment in the natural gas thermic plants. So we have reached to 42% as an industry. I don't think that we will be regressing to other tendencies. It will be the same tendency in the world. It will be a key issue. Storage will be the key point of this. Thank you so much. Maybe I can challenge you after the Russian and Ukraine war. In Europe, there was this energy challenge. So this is the scenario. I hope that this will not be the scenario. I hope this will be an income model for all of us for the future. Mr. Sarmit, I would like to give the floor to you. So, for Turkey, making profit out of storage, what are the options? What options do we have? How can we facilitate the storage without any additional cost? How can we make profit out of it? Thank you so much. Let's start. Let's take a few steps behind. Let's take a few steps back. I made an analysis and I was really thinking about this. Here we're discussing storage. Why do we discuss storage? The real reason, maybe it was the Turek times. There was a campaign of this application to storage. People were making some preparations and people were allocating the capacities. When we omit that out of this equation, we wouldn't even be here without those applications. The main part is if there is a indicator about this investment, if there's a necessity for the indicator, the signals of these indicators are the signals that we receive from the market. There's a demand, there's a supply. If there is a overproduction, the prices will go down, and if this volatile, there will be spreads. If this does it happen in Turkey? No, it doesn't happen. This is the market side, and for part of the grid, do we need it? Do we need it? Everyone in the whole will have some other information. It's easier to speculate, but our advantage is we are always completing the 8th year. We have these renewable plants. We are administrating 24/7. We sell and we purchase and we see if it is completed or not. And TEH is this integration. How they dominate and how they cannot dominate is clearly seen. So my personal take on the issue is that grids, without adding additional batteries of gigawatts, you have these easy wins, quick wins to this grid integration. I also claim that in Turkey there is the system. Maybe in total we can talk about this 70,000 megawatts of solar plus wind energy. In order to facilitate the continuity of the grid, we don't have any reason to facilitate the continuity of the grid. But this open to discussion. We have to see how do we operate, how do we push for the improvements. So that's why I call it clearly. From my perspective, I don't see any signals for the part of the markets for the supply of the energy. I don't see any signal either. So why do we have this investment issue on the table? Because we have this investment issue. There is a signal from the part of the regulator. Regulators told us that we have allocated some renewable energy resources areas, some is late, some is yet to come. We need new plants because thermic capacity do not work for us. We have to make a PPA. We have to make some agreements for 10 or 15 years. We have to consolidate, collaborate industry and the producers. But we skip this part. But you have to put batteries in a proportion of 1 to 1. But this design doesn't work either. So what do we do now? We circle back to the initial part of this process. How do we generate a business case? That's what we have to think. But we started wrong. So let's evaluate the last 5 years of Turkey. As Mr. Ömer mentioned, there's a power sponge. We have this battery portfolio in Germany. We will have our own investment, but we are managing these batteries. We are managing these markets for 10 or 15 minutes. We have this income models. Maybe I will be sharing these income models in order to give just an example to you. So we also made some estimations if we can make some money in Turkey. So maybe you can do some load shifting from the day ahead, and you can make some deals. If you change the design, maybe you can contribute to the market in a balancing manner, or you can use a tight limit frequency market and you can generate some income models. This is a multi-market arbitrage areas. There is a limited opportunity of income. What do we mention for megawatts annually? We talk about $12,000 to $17,000 annually. This is really very low. For the part of PFK, there's a very small window there, and we also know that when you get 200, 300 megawatts, just like in the UK, in Germany, you will have a law for KNC income. There isn't a business case there. Why not? Before why not, we can circle back to Germany model. The estimation by the end of September is roughly from January to September, arbitrage trading, multi-market trading, and system frequency. When you use it in a multi manner, you can talk about only 230,000 megawatts. So that's the income made. How and why? Why? First of all, in Germany, that's the system in Germany. I believe and hope that this has to be developed. It's not the best version of the system, but let's go back to why. Because we have to circle back to the signals that we receive from the market with the Ukraine crisis, with the solar capacity. There is a limit. Only 12 to 30 gigawatts solar is added to the system annually by the end of the September. That's the figure that's added. In the wind energy, it is approximately 4.5. So the system has reached to a point that where 90,000 megawatts of solar, only 80,000 megawatts of wind energy. That's the system that we have now. The battery power of this system is only 1.5 gigawatts. So we have a signal. There is an indicator. Market is telling us that there is this supply and demand, this volatile production. In this renewable energy, there will be more of this volatile production. All of this coal production, gas, it will be phasing out. Nuclear is out of the question, so there will not be any stable production. For the next 10 years, there is an opportunity window. Go and make some investment in the battery systems. And the investors, what do they do? By the end of September, applications for the capacity of battery is 160 gigawatts. The majority of this is opportunistic. Anyone who sees an opportunity is making the application. By 2030, we are estimating a battery capacity of 18 to 20. Solar will be around 120. This renewable production, if there's a volatile production, is very natural, and that's what the markets are telling us. But we're not here to talk about the markets. We're also talking about the regulations. Everyone knows. We know each other in this whole. There is no stranger. These fundamentals are not indicating the investments, and we have to share and allocate the profits. So we need this know-how. When we mention these topics, we talk about the development of the ecosystem. It's a really very important topic in order to improve the scale, but you have to appreciate know-how. We do not appreciate know-how. We talk about these. We are always condemning ourselves to a limited trade scale, and we cannot gather what we would like to achieve. Thank you so much for these valuable comments. It's a very important investment, so you can get the profit of this investment. Do you think that this is sustainable? It's not sustainable. The model of Germany is not sustainable. There's a fast penetration in the market. They have these big investment plans announced. Yet this margin for the maybe within the period of 7 to 10 years, there will be fluctuations, and it will be eventually going down. We're also investing. There are 7 different reports. I read 7 different reports. For the next decade, what profit can you make? You have Baringa, BCG, So starting from 70,000 to 80,000, these are all simulations. These are some estimations because we can only estimate the future. So the basic fundamental indicator is how we can achieve these renewable objectives when will nuclear be back. But my personal take on the issue is all these parts are revolving around this reality. There is a noise around this truth and reality. I believe they are distracting us from this reality. There is a tendency is loud and clear, as well as the technological developments in the wind systems, in the solar systems, in the expenses, in the costs. It is the same. It is the same. It is like a code and law. I have no doubt that these technological issues will be resolved soon. It can be maybe in Germany. It will not be in Germany, that's for sure. In China or Turkey will be part of this. If we are not efficient, this is the easy assumption that we will not be behind technologically. But of course, we have to see where the markets will be evolving, inclining towards. So let's make a second round, as a quick Q&A. In German, there's a business case, Mr. Sarvitz. So, storage is a system, storage has an income potential. In order for us to achieve that level, what do we need to change in the market? So there are some things that we have to fix quickly. One of those issues is that in Turkey, 33,000 solar and wind capacity is the capacity that we talk about, but the majority lack license. We have to, they don't even have the capacity to establish a balance. Maybe on 25th of December, we will be certain about some topics. We have to know this. We have to regulate these plants. We have to administer these imbalances that we have in these plants. If it's 1 megawatts, so you mean that those who do not have licenses, they have to have the obligation to put the balance. Yeah, it's changing. The picture is changing. It is late, but better late than never. They have to regulate and the in-day market. The frequency and the resolution of the products should be diminished to 15 minutes from 1 hour, because 1 hour is quite a long time, because for each and every product you have the opportunity to make money. The cost of electricity in the free market, declared in the EPH, is reflected in the fundamentals. It has to be determined in line with the fundamentals. If there is a spike of the prices, I believe that it will be, we have a cap of $95. If it exceeds $95, you cannot make any investments. You cannot make any profit from arbitrage. Why do they have this profit income in Germany? It is minus 500, the lowest, and the most dynamic upper is 3,600. So this is day ahead, within day. No, I correct myself. Within day, it is even higher. So it is minus 10,000 euros plus 10,000 euros. You have to have a very disciplined portfolio. You have to be very disciplined. If you have these flexible assets, just like battery, you can achieve this. So you mean this is the market in Germany is based on punishment. You have to find a solution in order to generate income, you say. Correct. So We have to commission these storage uh, services in Turkey. How can we make the most of these services? Of course, Mr. Service mentioned about these topics. Planning plays a crucial role. We have two key areas. First of all, battery energy storage systems should be positioned correctly within the grids, and we're looking out for some temporary intermediate solutions. On the other hand, for part of the investors, some income models and business models should be designed, and we have to highlight this part. There are some results that we gather. There are some simulations that we facilitated. These storage plants should be functioning to facilitate continuous renewable energy, but due to lack of the arbitrage studies, they cannot accomplish. So we have to read the market indicators correctly, and we have to support them. This is the first suggestion. In the current solutions, if we have these PFK reserves, it can be feasible. But if you increase storage, the prices will be going down and it will not be profitable. There are some limitations to the grids, and in the renewable energies, there are some located in some areas more than other areas. There are some differences in the prices. In this regard, storage places plans should be diverted to other regions, and we can also make some pricing methods based on the regions. If we cannot, if we cannot position them enough, it will not be correct. Maybe also we can improve the grid markets. We have to permit negative pricing. We can also use this arbitrage so that they can find ways to increase their incomes. Of course, there are some improvements to be made for part of the regulations. We suggest that the regulations should be improved. Other suggestion is about this positioning, these battery storage systems, and the system profits should be evaluated altogether. Battery technologies, the benefits to the system. If they have high benefit to the systems, if they have a low income margins, maybe there can be some incentives for the investors. That's one of the suggestions that we made. In the distribution allocation lines, we have to establish these virtual power lines. This is one of the pilot projects. Maybe we can scale up these projects and implement these projects. Or in the studies, we always consult our stakeholders. One of the suggestions from one of our investors, maybe in the energy income outcome part, maybe you can establish different tariffs for the prices. Last but not the least, in the byproducts, by services area, you can make some improvements so that you can integrate the small scale storage capacities so that they can participate in the markets. In short, there are millions of suggestions like this, but in short, in Turkey, these battery storage plants and policies around these plants has to be designed in line with the location, region, with a serious planification. We believe this holistic manner is really important.
Şekilde indirilebiliyor.
Thank you. Let me remind everyone once again that this report is available on the internet. Oh, right? Yeah. Okay, great. So, Dr. Alper Baykut, what about the most accurate battery technology for Turkey? I mean, you discussed some chemicals, but what is the optimal thing? Yeah, there are so many components to it, but one of the first things that comes to my mind, like regulations, but then I'll continue with chemistry. Perfect. Then what about the new regulation? Yeah, that that is actually something new. It was discussed, but it's about, okay, I offer you a license, but then just decharge it in an hour. It means a 1C battery, meaning if I want to have an end-to-end investment, then it's about 1C. The entire capacity should be discharged in an hour. But there were just a few companies a couple of years ago. There were only some giants. Okay, even if you can produce a cell, and by the way, let me re-emphasize the certificate aspect as well. There weren't any certified producers either. So what did we do? I mean, we went full throttle. We said we demand 1C, but they said they don't exist. And even if there were some companies who were capable of doing it, you had to wait for 3 months for the certification, etc. And you cannot go like, okay, I'm going to start with 10 megawatts and I'll see it from there. But that's how it all started. So how is the reality? Okay, you have your license, and I want to see your capacity at the very start, very beginning of the transmission line. Meaning, if you have your certificate, and by the way, let's not forget that you have losses from 5 to 10% while charging. 5 is just too optimistic, but there are some losses. 7 is like a great figure, meaning you have 7% loss. You have 10 megawatt hour capacity, but I mean, you can only offer 9.3 megawatts, meaning at the very first day, you would need additional capacity. And the moment you go for it, you do it just for this existing year. What about next year? Because in every charge and decharge, I mean, the battery will continue to lose its capacity. And we said, okay, capacity loss up to 20% is okay. And then, by the way, we were afraid that this might change. So, but it didn't turn out to be the case. But then, okay, 20% loss is inevitable. Okay, but then what about a cycle a day? Meaning 15 to 20 years can be guaranteed as a life expectancy. I'm telling you this both as a producer and an investor. Okay, then let's go back to the technical aspects. Aging battery, dying battery. I mean, it's only because of heat. You lose the life expectancy because of heat, but then, I mean, have a lot of current, it'll get, heated more, have less, and it'll be heated less. But overload means also more heat, so you'd either need an incredible thermal system to stop overheating or to control it, or you're gonna go for either a burn risk or an aging risk. Now, you asked what lies ahead. There are two things. A couple of things might change here. And by the way, when we're talking about loans and investments, but if only we could put this aside. I mean, imagine a half an hour decharged, like I'm talking about 20 Cs here. But if you want to meet the demand, then you have to install it like 20 megawatts, meaning you can hit your C rates with 20 megawatts of installation. So it looks feasible, but cost-wise, you double your capex, even though it's not fully doubling. But then if you want to increase the current in 1C, you would need to go for thicker radiuses for your cables. You would need thicker electrical cables, so it's going to be a higher cost for you. And there's going to be cost differences and capex changes too. So that is why companies like you should communicate how the feasibility and the reality can be different. We know LFPs or NMCs, but We're not using lithium titanate, right? Made of titanium. You can have 20C, no heating, expensive, but can you use it for storage? Impossible. Can someone overcome this problem? Yeah, they're trying to increase both the C rate and the capacity, more volume, more this, more that. Okay, but looks like soon in the future. And by the way, when I say soon, I'm talking about 15 to 20 years because commercializing such things takes time. Okay, offer to the market, have it operate for like 10 years. First, you would need some tests and studies, and then commercial aspect of it, how to have a production line, the R&D, and how to cover the expenses. Sodium is not there yet. It's like a low risk material, but it's expensive, and when you use it, it's way cheaper than the raw material used in lithium. So a time will come, and soon, and okay, not soon, but I mean, in the future, we'll start seeing it. But that's the reality. That's how it is in competition, and we keep saying the same thing. When everyone starts to invest, then profit margins will drop even further. So the early you invest, the early ROI you get. This is a competition, but you cannot predict where the competition might take us. By the way, this reminded us the 2015 solar discussions, remember? We were talking about up to $1 million investments, but now we're talking about half of it. But then what about waiting? Waiting to see the storages being, engaged and operational. There is an ideal time for it. Back in 2013, we started the first storage, and together with Aspison, we installed it in Kalakom. 500 megawatt hours of storage, and the cost of it was around $1 million. Megawatt hour, you mean? No, yeah, but then it wasn't feasible. Not for defense, not for military. But now we're talking about 1/10 of it. Can it go lower? You say it won't, then it does, because that's the expectation here. But calculations and the reality is different. Are you going to go for an arbitrage, or you're going to, go for solar or wind? But then look at Germany, look at Spain. They appeared feasible, meaning don't rely on the technology, but the production, and don't fall behind, don't miss the opportunity. I think it's quite the time. But if we get late, then you're going to lose it. Pomageddon investment, we try to do the same thing. And our biggest concern is, okay, I have a 3 gigabyte, 5 gigabyte of a factory, but then if you cannot sell it, then what to do? Then what about your operations and everything? And when things get cheaper, I mean, can that technology be still valid, So make the ecosystem operational. That was a great insight. Thank you so much for it. And that made me think of something else, and I'm going to ask it to Osman. Thinking of competition, I see a giant like China. Mr. Ibrahim said in his opening remarks that between 2015 and 2023, when it comes to the supply of turbines, there was this east and west producers, but in 8 years, Western producers lost a significant share. But then what about the situation in China? You also have an investment in Turkey, and what do you think about competing with China or the Far East players? Well, I mean, it's even different than wind. It started in Europe, but then China surpassed, it all. I mean, it started in Korea and in Japan, and then it moved to China. Ferrophosphate, the LFP. And when it gained significance in energy storage, and by the way, electrical vehicles are really interested in LFP chemistry too, and automotive sector will definitely use it, and I think LFP will be there in the future. Many patents were gained in China, and there were many developments. That's why China became a giant. Can we compete? Price-wise, I mean, especially for large capacity, if we're talking about large capacities, then I don't think the competition can be that easy. But energy storage solutions and systems, I mean, just like Alper said and other speakers mentioned about it, I mean, it's not a plug-in and it's ready-to-use thing. It's like a service-providing system. You said it's about integration. It's about softwares, battery production, energy management system thing. So that is why you can compete with China in different aspects. I take it in 4 categories. The first one is that you're going to be an alternative supply chain. Think of the States and in EU. I mean, America will go through, the US will go through elections today. I don't know what the result might be, but if the conjuncture changes, then against China, you might see some rising barriers. I mean, there are already, barriers, and they will rise and they'll get, higher and higher. Especially developed countries are looking for an alternative to China, and if you play your cards right, you can become an important player. That's how we emerged as Omega. China, I mean, we are a great cell producer in China. I'm telling you this. And there is a significant industry in solar as well, but there are some challenges. But unfortunately, know-how is missing because the focus wasn't on battery or like cells, but on panels. But now BMS is involved, or heating cooling systems are also involved. So these require even further know-how. But if you are competent with the technology, if you can produce your own technology, then you can become an important player. Also, the service and quality aspect, that's also important. And transparency. We share similar cultures and business-making cultures with the EU and the States. Imagine agreeing with a European. It's still way easier than, agreeing with China. It's still more transparent, and you can have better contracts with the Western players. And by the way, there aren't many players in Europe, for example, right now. So that's why Turkey can confront as an important market. Also, logistically speaking, Turkey's position is perfect. You are close to Middle East, Africa, Europe, everywhere. And when it comes to batteries, first in, first out is the process that we're talking about. So supply time is quite important. Imagine, anything, it'll be delivered from China like in a month or 2 months, but you can ship anything and everything from Europe like in a week. Plus, we are a factory. And when I say this, I want you to think as an investor. The certification period, this and that. When you want to change your cell supplier, then you have to restart the entire certification process. So that is why when you work with a factory, the certification and the supply chain assurance like doubles. Another thing on how to compete, well, local incentives and mechanisms. Can we set an industry here? Yes, we can. I already see it building up. Looking at wind, we were questioning the same thing 25 years ago, but we just heard the figures. $2.2 billion of exports. Can you imagine? Turkey can become a battery hub, a center. That's easy. So I have no doubt on whether we can see an industry here, but we need incentives. And there are a couple of ways to do so, like the customs barrier or tax reductions, technology-based subventions, incentives, like support programs. These are all great possibilities, but yeah, we need to see a market forming up very rapidly, very soon, so that we can see what's actually going on in the field. So I think we can compete with China, and we do compete. We are even pushing it when it comes to prices, together with the new customs conditions and everything, plus services or other things. I think we can compete with China because we are as hardworking as they are. So in that sense, I have full faith in us. Thank you. So at this point, I want to give an opportunity to the audience. We can now have a quick Q&A session because we have at least like 5 minutes. Can you introduce yourself first? Hayati Çapbaş Alarko. I have a question for Mr. Serves, but maybe Ms. Alcom can answer it too. You discussed a lot of things, but thinking of merit order and setting the price accordingly should be the foundation. Can you please keep the mic a bit closer, because we have simultaneous translation going on and they have to hear you clearly. Prices should be set based on a merit order. 8 or 9 years ago, I mean, even when the batteries were not out there, it was discussed that when renewables are increasing too rapidly, then the prices will get close to zero. Okay, but then batteries are introduced, and this thing is delayed a bit. But we still have 7 to 8 years for batteries to become, feasible. So, do you think this market would evolve into something rather than the merit order? And you visit Europe quite often, so what are the projections and what is discussed right now? Yeah, well, merit order actually touches on the philosophy of everything. I mean, when you think of merit order, of course, it's debated for years now in all liberal markets. But at the end of the day, there is nothing to differentiate or feed-in tariff. There isn't a new or like a different model yet. And generally speaking, I can give you two answers. One, market harmonization can be lifted like day ahead, or take out capacities could be, coupled. And starting from like 15 to 20 years ago and where we are now, frequency market can be harmonized. And these can like be an answer to your merit order question, but also on the battery side. Here's the reality. There were a lot of production going on, wind turbines, especially the renewables, the solars and everything. And because of the cannibalization effect, it was always like it was always one directional. When there were too many investments, prices dropped, and then there were like disruptive and destructive comeback. But battery can even turn this into a profit. Even when the things are going wrong, battery can make you profit, so that's a great asset. That is why there is a great deal of interest and investment appetite. That the continuity of that merit order, with the assumption that there won't be a major disruption, because the more batteries you have, the smoother, the flatter your duck curve will be. So that's like the continuity of the merit order, and you will see more benefits. It will also pave the way for many other great possibilities. Thank you. Thank you. Just one other question, maybe, if there are any. No questions, I guess. Yeah, I guess so. All right then. Thank you so much to all panelists for their great insights. Now, we thank you, of course, as in every session. Now we'll have a ceremony, and Miss Selma is here with us today, Selma Öztürk. A great round of applause for all her masterpieces. Thank you so much for all your pieces. And when I had a chat with her, she said I think you prepared 115 pieces, right? Yeah, so this means a great effort. Thank you so much. So here's how it's gonna go. Miss Ebru, let's have you here. Ebru Arıcı. She'll be the moderator of the fourth session, but first, let's let's present the moderator, Uğur Işık, his great piece of art. Thank you so much. Thank you. How should we move on? Yeah, all right. Pomega Energy Storage Technologies General Manager Osman Şahin Köşker. Thank you for your contribution. REAP Battery CEO Dr. Alper Baykut. Pure Energy co-founder and managing director Andvab Servet Akgün. Thank you. Shura Director Alkın Bağgüllü. A special thanks to you. Thank you so much for your contributions. It's been a great session, and this marks the end of the last session. Can we please have a family photo together? Thank you to both the moderator and the speakers. And Ebru Arıcı, special thanks to you. Miss Selma, can we please have you up here in the stage? Thank you so much for these incredible pieces of art. And yeah, this marks the end of the first year for this hall. As you know, we'll have another opening ceremony, then we'll have 3 sessions. And thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow morning, we'll have an opening ceremony, and see you there. Thank you.